time. We usually think that Muslims would be taking their deen and their understanding of religion from scholars who are established. They have trained in the Muslim world itself. They have lived and taught in the Muslim world itself about like core matters of the deen. Why would someone in Egypt look to, you know, an imam in the US to learn about hijab, you know, or to learn about how to pray, how to fast, when you have some of the best imams, some of the best scholars, and if you have access to the language, you know, that's who you study with. You stay with people in Egypt, or that's who you take from, or other parts of the Arab world. Same thing with Pakistan or India or Bangladesh or Turkey, Malaysia. Why would you go and look at the US? Part of the reason is that there may be among some Muslims a kind of inferiority complex to think that, oh, well, we can learn our religion from these, you know, enlightened Westerners. Learn about praying and fasting and wearing hijab and halal and haram. That's part of it. But the other part of it is that there is a huge effort to take this watered down Islam that has been peddled in the West, in America, in the UK, etc., in Europe, take that and export it and spread it to the Muslim world forcefully, you know, basically really put a lot of money behind it, put a lot of visibility behind it, and present these watered down figures who are preaching a watered down message, present them as these, you know, pinnacles of Islamic scholarship and knowledge and so forth. That's the strategy. This is explicit. The U.S. State Department has the strategy. It's spelled out in the RAND report, Building Moderate Muslim Networks, as one of the RAND reports that talks about this in detail. And we see this, you know, we see many of these very popular figures traveling to places like Pakistan, to Malaysia, to Turkey, Nigeria, parts of Africa and East Asia. And they, you know, say things that most Muslims there don't agree with. First of all, the majority don't want this, and second of all, a lot of them don't even understand English. A lot of the Muslims in these countries aren't English speakers. It's only the economic elite who can understand like what these guys are saying, and then they are empowered to spread this economic elite within those countries. So they learn these things, they get a justification like, okay, well, if the Fulan Imam Sheikh said it in the US, you know, they're doing something right. They must be doing something right. We need to implement that and take our country away from these backwards mulvis or these backwards mullahs that don't know, you know, they grew up in the villages. That's the mindset of some of these economic elite, educated elite who still care about Islam. They care about religion. I assume most of them. Some of them might be pure hypocrites, but most of them do care about Islam, but they're just fixated on this kind of Western message, this modernized Islamic message. So this is the dynamic. This is how you can slowly, step by step, change a society. And that's what is being done to the Muslim world. So it's, you know, very upsetting to see like these figures who have destroyed, you know, maybe destroyed is too harsh of a word, but they have really messed up the Muslim community in their country, in the US. And now the same garbage that has caused so much damage in the thinking and the iman of generations of Muslims here in the US, now they're like aggressively pushing it overseas in these, and it's countries that are really, they're religious and they haven't been impacted by secularism in the same way that other countries have. So like Egypt has been really impacted by secularism. Tunisia has been really impacted by secularism, for example. But you see like a revival of Muslim conservatism, Muslim like traditionalism in countries like Pakistan, in countries like Malaysia, in countries like Turkey. Have you noticed that these figures go specifically to these types of countries? I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence. Or Nigeria, there's a revival of traditional Islam in these countries after a few decades of more secularist dominance. And then, you know, this revival, like you have people who are trying to revive deen in these countries, and they're turning to the likes of these compassionate imams in the West. So it's like it's being subverted. The impulse to traditionalism, the impulse to rejecting modernity is being hijacked by modernists, by reformists. Talk the talk of tradition, they talk the talk of, oh, Islamic revival, but they're just spreading the same garbage, the same liberal, feminist, modernist garbage.